Welcome, welcome. So another episode on the EO European podcast. This also on YouTube, of course. My name is Nir Zavao, your host. I'm the Member Experience Director for the European region of the Entrepreneurs Organization. Today, I have a special guest. I had the pleasure of spending quite a lot of time with him, always having fun. You can definitely say he moves around quite a bit. Max, how are you?
Hey Nia, I'm good, and you?
I'm good, having fun. It's a nice day outside here in Israel. So you are the EO president for the Paris chapter.
Correct. Yes, I am, but I'm not in Paris right now, so I'm also enjoying some sunshine in Portugal.
Where in Portugal are you?
Ericeira, it's like a surfing town 1 hour away from Nazaré, which is where you have massive waves. But I don't go on those waves. I go on very small waves, but yeah, not far.
They just had a documentary, I think, last year about that place, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm dying to come and visit. So how long have you been in Portugal?
4 months. 4 months, and yeah, living in a.
You think you're gonna stay?
Don't know. We'll see. With COVID is one of those things, right? It's you don't need to live in a big city anymore. You don't need to see your clients physically anymore. You can just meet them on Zoom. And my clients, I'm in the B2B business, and normally clients would always expect you to come see them for coffee, see them for a meeting. Otherwise, they wouldn't do business with you. And now, like 90% of my clients I've never met physically in my life. So it's a big change.
So for those who don't know, would you do me the kind favor of doing some sort of a short elevator pitch about who you are, family, business, whatever you feel like?
Great. Yes. So my name is Max Khindria. I have an agency in financial communication. I'm 35 years old. This is my second business. I had a first business in the same industry back in London. So I'm half French, half English, and I've lived in Paris, London, Madrid, Barcelona, Buenos Aires, and now Chiang Mai in Thailand, and now Portugal. So moved a bit around. And I started my career in finance. I was working with big banks in asset management, and quickly figured out that it wasn't for me, that big companies were not for me. And I entered the entrepreneur journey a bit on opportunity. I was working in a small agency in events, and it went under, like it was mismanaged. And it was the opportunity for me and others to buy it back for a symbolic price. So that was 7 years ago. And back in London, I managed it for 4 years with my business partners. And then 3 years ago, sold this business to them and started this new agency, which is the one I'm leading now. And we're specialized in financial events. So everything around annual general meetings, investor days for financial institutions like VCs, private equities, and listed companies.
How do you get to do such a niche business? You're not just an event company, right? But a very niche style of event company.
It's very good. It's a good question, and it's super niche. Nobody knows about this business, and it's great. I mean, somebody told me about this job in this agency, the one in London that I brought back. I went into that, and it's one of those businesses where the barriers of entry in terms of reputation are high. Like, people need to trust you to buy, and I made my reputation like in those first few years, and since then growing. So that's how I got into that.
Interesting. I was speaking at an EO event last week online, of course, for Southeast Europe, and we had a special guest, and he said the most important thing as an entrepreneur is to say no. So if you say no,
yeah.
So I imagine when you started and you had to niche down, you had to say quite a lot of no's, right? Do you remember one that was like huge money or something crazy, and one story like that?
Yes, I have one. I have one big one. I say no all the time. Like there's so many opportunities that arise. People want to work with you. They want to take you away from your main product. And it was I just started Finevents, so my current company, and I had two products. One that I really loved, which was the event side of things, and one that which I was good at, but I didn't enjoy. Like I just didn't enjoy this product. But I had a reputation. I had existing clients. Like people would call me for this product, and one day one of my old clients like asked us to pitch, and it was big business. Like I would be maybe 4 times my current turnover. Like it was, if I got it 4 times, like guaranteed for 4 years. Uh, and I was preparing it. And as I was preparing it, my gut and my soul were sad. I was like really just not wanting to do it. And and I remember I asked an EO friend, a woman who was a coach, business coach in EO, and I was telling, I don't know what to do. Like it's so much money, it's safe, I should be doing it, but I really don't want to do it. And she said, okay, just imagine yourself in 1 year. If you took it, how would you feel? And I would just imagine it, and I felt, just sad and distressed. I was like, well, there you go. You just know. And I said no to that, and it was a big step. And then 15 clients arrived just afterwards. So
unbelievable.
I
love the concept of imagine how it will be on the other side, right? Or halfway, and then make a decision. That's interesting. So you moved to London, and that's where you met EO as the organization?
Correct.
How was it?
It was, so I met EO when I was, so I'm 35. I got my first business at 27. And when you're starting out, I mean, you know this, and a lot of entrepreneurs know this, right? You have no idea what you're doing. Like literally, you have no idea. And it's fun and it's horrible in both ways. Like there's some good parts and bad parts to that. And so I got this business, and it was an existing business, which I got for a symbolic price. So it was like an existing brand, big, good turnover. Like I wasn't realizing how lucky I was actually. I thought this was normal. Like, okay, I would get all these clients already here and all that stuff. And I was fighting, like we didn't do good governance with my business partners. We didn't think of like how it would work in the future, like no shareholder agreement, like none of these things. Like the good stuff that you should do when you have business partners, we didn't do it. And I started getting stressed out, like really stressed out. And I was in Mexico for New Year's. And around the table, there's a guy who's like same age as me, like maybe 2 years older. And I had like 10 employees, and he had 65. And he was loving it. He was loving life. Yeah, life's amazing. I'm enjoying it. And I'm like, man, how are you doing it? Because I'm having a miserable time right now. Like I'm so stressed out. And he's like, man, I'm EO. I'm part of EO Brooklyn. And I'm like, what is this EO thing, And my ex-fiance, like when we left that dinner, she said, you should definitely go check that organization, man. Just go check it out because you need it. And I arrived in London, contacted them straight away, met the president, was a lovely guy. And I didn't even know what it was. I just said, okay, I just want to go, I mean, it looks so good. I just want to go. So, yeah.
I think so many of us didn't know what we were joining, and now we can't imagine life without it. So for you, imagining life without it meant when you go back to Paris, you said, I'm not going without EO, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And how did that play out for you?
So it was interesting because I spent 2 years in EO London, and these were 2 tough years. Like I eventually left that business. And so in EO there's forum, which some of your audience will know. And if they don't, it's a work group that basically you meet once a month to discuss with other entrepreneurs about the highs and the lows and to help each other out. And you can talk about successes, and some people do, but me, I was like really not in a good way during those 2 years. And when I left that company. I went backpacking in Asia 6 months, which was great. I would highly recommend anybody doing a transition to go and travel, enjoy life. And I moved back to Paris, and I started setting up this new business. And I didn't have that much money. Like, it was kind of tough as well in terms of cash. I wasn't sure, of how to renew. And after 3 months, I was missing it so much that I was like, okay, I'll make the investment. It's okay. It will be worth it anyway, like in the future. And I contacted EO Global, and they told me there's no chapter in Paris. And I'm like, okay, wow. And I got in touch with, there was one person who was trying to set it up. And so we started talking, and in the end, I kind of took the lead on that side. Yeah.
I think the main problem, if I remember correctly, was language barrier, right?
Language barrier, a lot of organizations who kind of do similar things. And it takes time. It takes time to launch these things. And I think, we're on our 4th year and we're about to launch. Convincing the first, it's like any business, it takes 3 or 4 years to properly launch a business. And for at least for us in Paris, that's what's happening.
Yeah, EO Israel was founded kind of the same way when Dr. Eyal Ronen came back and he decided he doesn't want to live in a place that doesn't have EO. And he decided to establish. I think the interesting thing, and it's part of why we're now trying to do this podcast series and other stuff, is most of us join without completely understanding what we're getting ourselves into. So it's the money investment is one thing, but what is it? And I think it's interesting when you want to start a chapter, right? The first 16 people that you need for a qualified chapter, they join, but not only do they not know why they need to volunteer for things they don't know how they operate. It's a very strange concept, but once it starts kicking in, I think it's an amazing concept.
For sure. I mean, and it's, I think for me as president, the big change I saw when the forums were formed and people are starting to really get value there, that was a big plus. But yeah, it's interesting. It's a bit weird, and it's true. People are joining, and when you ask people why they join, like it's very various, like different reasons. Some people want to make friends. Like some people just arrived in Paris. Like I know nobody here. I want to be surrounded by cool people, interesting people who have the shared mindset. Some people don't want necessarily to grow their business. They're more like, I just want to become a better leader, but they don't have this 10x mentality, and some want to like 100x and 10x and yeah, I mean, we always say that the values, right? The values of EO are so important, and it's true, especially in that kind of a small group. Like you really need to be bounded by this kind of shared values, and yeah.
I completely agree. By the way, it's interesting, if I may go back to your business, when you were in EO London and you had your business and you had partners, it's one thing, right? Come back to your forum, you can talk to your peers in the forum, but you're running a business with partners, and I'm a solepreneur, and now you're the same in Paris?
So yeah, solepreneur.
How different is it for you running the same concept of the business, different places with partners and without?
So much better without partners.
Really?
Yeah.
Do tell. Come on.
I don't miss having partners. I really don't. I mean, I'm sure one day I will find a partner that I will love being with. Sorry, I don't mean about EO. I mean like a partner in your business. It was
Let's talk.
For business. Me, the divorce was
Let's talk about the business, of course.
Yeah. I mean, it was like a divorce. My first company. Like it took me 2 years in the business of fighting and infighting and lawyers and all that stuff. And then 2 more years afterwards to sell the shares. So it was like a 4-year process to get out, So I'm keen to, one day I might get partners again, but like if I can avoid it, yeah, why have them? I mean, and this is where EO comes in, right? I don't have partners to jump around on ideas, etc. I have actually in a way better than partners because you have people who don't have an interest in the decision. They're going to give you honest feedback. They're going to tell you, like their experience share, and you get so much more out of it than with a partner. So for now, at least, that's how I'm living that journey.
So how, as a solepreneur, COVID hits, your business is about events. Walk me through the feelings, because I know how I felt throughout March when things close. By the way, interesting side story. End of February, I was in Berlin with the same time another EO member was having one of the biggest events in Berlin for financial things. So I think I wanted to connect you to him a couple of weeks ago. And then, so I know how he was, I know how I was during March. So
sure.
How did you feel?
So me, it was a bit interesting because so March last year, it was only 2 years. FinEvents was 2 years in. Me, I've built my business only on freelancers. I don't have employees. Everybody's freelance. Like I'm the only employee of FinEvents. So I've built it around that. When I was traveling in Asia, I saw a whole community of, they call it digital nomads. Those people who travel around the world and work. And I loved it. I hanged out with those people for 6 months. And so I do vision boards. I have like a vision board where I have all the stuff that I want in life. And I had like living in Portugal by the sea, by the ocean, like it's been on my vision board for 4 years. And I've built FinEvents around that, around freelancing, because people are motivated. You use them in the right moment, and when you're not, because in events you have seasons. So there's seasons when not much happens. So I built it then. So that was one factor that, like when COVID hits, we were ready for this shift. We're already kind of fully remote. I didn't have offices. I had one seat at WeWork for me, and then the rest of my team was working from home. So there was no change there. And the shift was interesting because, so I do financial communication, and most of my clients are like private equities and venture capital, and they've never done events virtually before, right? There was a big, like they've never done that, and they need to learn this thing. And I remember selling, like I won't say the name, like a big private equity. I was pitching him for 6 months before for a physical event, and for 6 months he told me, I don't need you. Like my PA knows how to do the event. We've done it for 10 years in the same hotel. I really don't need any help from an agency. 10 days before the first confinement in France, they contact me and they say, oh, we need the help with a virtual event. Can you help us, please? For an event in 10 days. I send a proposal. 5 minutes later, yes, okay, we take. And I'm like, there's something there. Like there's a real need here. And I just started focusing on that. So it was actually, I've won more clients than, like I've won a lot of clients last year that I would not have got if it was.
I think it's a lot about the opportunity at hand, right? So the field is changing and how quickly you can adapt. And I remember I was walking back and forth. I was doing quarantine because we came back from Germany, then have COVID. Everything was still open. And I'm walking back and forth and saying, I'm going to close the business. I'm not going to pay anyone. I don't want to do this. And again, I had no idea what was going outside. I'm stuck at home for 14 days.
Sure, yeah.
And then when they closed everything, Sunday said, okay, now what? Let's play. And I needed that. By the way, it was interesting to get so many different inputs from EO members here. We would do a weekly call where everybody would share what's going on in their industry, furlough employees, what can they do, who's closing what, who's changing, who's going online, and so on. So we suddenly had every Tuesday evening About 20
Sure.
people would jump on a call, share experiences, and Wednesday morning, everybody will get to work to try and do stuff.
Super useful. And some, I agree. In France, the same. Maybe not 20. We're not 20 yet. We're going to be 20 soon. But definitely very useful to have the EO and yeah, like and the group chats. A lot of value for the members for sure.
So you go. 2020 becomes totally virtual. It's an opportunity. It's a great way to get new clients. A great way to find a market gap where all these businesses used to do exactly the same. But then people tend to measure things a certain way, right? It's an event. We have to do meetings. You have to come to the venue and everything. So in speaking opportunities, people wanted to pay less because they said you're not flying. You're coming for 1 hour. And they didn't pay for the experience, right? Mm-hmm. How did you find that in your negotiation?
So me, we do financial events, so there's not that much speakers. It's the key with financial events is like they don't really have a choice. Like they have to do the event. It's not like it's a marketing thing, right? You have to do your AGM, you have to do your investor day, especially in COVID times where everything's mad. So if you're not keeping your investors afloat of what's going on, it's dangerous. Like you should be investing. If there's one place you should be investing, it's in that, just to make sure that your investors are not running to the hills and taking out all the cash. So in terms of that there, and us, what was interesting was like differentiating, like helping our clients differentiate themselves from the mass, because there's virtual events and there's virtual events. There's different ways of organizing. You can do a Zoom webinar, everybody can do it and etc. But how do you stand out? And our clients need to stand out because there's a lot of competition. They're looking for funds around the world and they need to be world-class players. And it's kind of us seeing, well, we're going to make sure that you keep that high standing. And it has a cost, so we kept good budgets by making sure that the value was perceived, okay, I can see why I'm buying this. And we would help them. And also, they would compare with an actual event where they have the hotel, they have the catering, etc. It would be cheaper than the normal event, but not that cheap, like in the end, because there's still technology, technicians. Like if you want to make a good virtual event, it's an investment. Like you need a proper team to make it happen. It needs to be smooth. And yeah, so that was the shift in terms of so, and it was interesting because it was kind of smaller budgets, but more clients. And now I'm waiting for the shift back to hybrid, right? Because we want all those clients on the smaller budgets. And next year or this year, go back. So it would be interesting to see
That's very interesting.
That shift.
I would love to hear. You should come back to another episode next year and tell us how 2021 went. So it's interesting. I love the fact that you saw digital nomads somewhere in Asia. You loved it. You're actually a practicing digital nomad. And you're also utilizing to your benefits what is called the gig economy, right? Where people are freelancing, doing their own things. How do you find it where people need to put their heart and soul into your business, but the freelancers? What is the challenge over there for you?
It's a very good question. So me, it started it started slowly, because I've been in this industry for 10 years. And over the last 10 years, even when I was working on this freelance model, I still met freelancers, because in the events business, as you know, you have a base, but you need to have freelancers for high seasons. And choosing freelancers is like choosing employees. It's a lot around values and honesty and are they motivated, are they proactive, and for me, these are the two main criteria. Like, are you proactive? Are you smart? And are you honest? And if you have these three qualities, it's rare, it's hard to find those three together, but it's kind of what sticks, right? And I tend to work, the way I test freelancers is I test on small projects. So very low impact. I never test freelancers with clients direct. Like they will always do something internal in the company. And you kind of test on small things, small tasks, it's easy to see the mindset of somebody. It's easy to see, did they go the extra mile? Did they just check once the email or did they go through the detail? And just that is already showing that. And this was when we were smaller and, like now we're starting to be like 25, 30 freelancers kind of full time. Like it's starting to become proper management of freelance business, So before it was more instinctual, like based on that. And now we're building like more company culture and more processes and how you do that. And the way we do it with freelancers is regular meetings, like regular points, like once a week, catch up, and like a normal business, like socials, etc. The one thing that you have to change with freelancers is like they have other clients and it's just that management of timetables. And one last thing is the consistency, because even if you're a freelancer, like me, I will always want you to be on the same account because clients want to see the same faces. A client will never, like if you change his contact every event, he won't stay. He'll be like, man, like I don't want to repeat. So you're creating the consistency with the freelancer. Like if you work with this client, if for 5 years, if you do a good job, you have this client. Me, my aim is that we stay together. Yeah, and I think generosity as well. There's something around playing with that, kind of being fair, paying well, like, and kind of, because, it's not about the money, but money is important. And for them, like cancellations, like sometimes we have to cancel events. The fact that you do cancel, paying on time, paying freelancers on time, paying them fast. They really appreciate that. It's like a big thing for them because a lot of the clients don't pay them fast, don't pay them on time. And if you do that, then they treat you better. So there's something around that as well.
It's interesting. We demand work, right? Not just us, but in my agency, it goes the same way. We do the work and then payment doesn't come on time. But then they would always demand what they want now, right? So I think when I sent a new freelancer that we've been working with, I was happy to check that you received the payment. Payment sent with pleasure. And I was very happy, did a very good job. And he said, I've never in all my years received such a text message.
Nice.
So when you say pay on time, I think it's a great takeaway value from this call that if you have freelancers, right, we pay employees because we have to pay them until a certain date. But we sometimes allow ourselves to delay the payment for the freelancers for various reasons, right?
Yeah, you're managing cash flow, you're doing all these things, and it's okay. And I think I read this in a book. It's called How to Get Rich by Felix Denis. It's like it's a funny book, but it's a great book for starting a business. He has really good tips. And one of them is like, pay people on time. And if you can't pay them on time, call them and explain why and find a way and decide on a new date and pay them on time when it's that. But by doing that, you're creating trust with people, right? And creating trust with your freelancers and suppliers, that's invaluable. And you start building cash flow management for your suppliers. You can pay them 30 or 60 days after the events because they trust you. And that's how you're fueling growth, because right now, our clients pay us in advance, part of it, and we've managed to negotiate good cash flow management there. So for our growth, we can keep growing without having to find more money, like it's kind of, maybe I'm not explaining it well, but.
No, I think, first of all, I think you're explaining it great. Is end of the day, pay people on time, they will be more the commitment is higher. And especially when it's freelancers. So if I understood correctly, you're looking for a certain type of employee or as a freelancer even, to be motivated, big thinker, and so on. And if you pay them on time, this is a long-term relationship. Assigning them to the same client is a long-term relationship. So they know to a certain extent that even though they're not your employee, but you've got their back or you're looking long-term with them, which is great.
And I think,
what you're saying is, if you're saying 25, 30 freelancers, and then I'm saying, wait, so you have an agency for freelancers focused on events, right? Yeah. Managing 30 freelancers is not a small task.
Yeah, I'm realizing that as you're saying it.
Yeah. What platforms do you use to manage their time or whatever? Do you have any specifics, things we can take?
Yeah, there's a few. What's it called? Insight Timer.
Okay.
Like a timing app. It's really good for, you can have it on iPhone, on desktop app, on the web, and it's just timing what you do. So all our freelancers time what they're doing. So I know how many hours they're spending on each client. And this is good for two things. For them, it's great because they feel they're really getting paid for the hours they're making. So it's not like, a lot of freelancers sometimes, some of them work in packages and some of us are hourly rates. Depends on your preference. We tend to push for hourly rates because it's easier to control. Like I know exactly what they've done, and they feel in control of their budget as well. They're like, okay, great. Like I work this number of hours, I'm getting paid for it, and there's no ill will of like, I'm doing too much for this client and la la la. So that's a great app. And now we're putting in a lot, but one is Asana, which is a project management tool, which is quite known. I think a lot of people use that.
A lot of development is used there. A lot of people do development also use that stuff. We use Monday and Trello, which I assume for task management. Tell me, how do you organize a well-structured 30-minute call when you have a lot of freelancers? What is the right way?
Nice. We can definitely improve at our place to do that. We're not the best at this, but okay. What I've done recently, which is quite interesting, is I have a timer. So you can download timers on Zoom and stuff and kind of allocate time. And when people see a timer going down, they tend to go faster than what they do. Clear agendas. I mean, I do this more for like our board meetings with my management who are also freelancers. So I have a management team of freelancers. And we have like a good board meetings. We need to improve.
First of all, we decided to change on Google the meetings from 30 to 25 minutes and 60 to 55 and 10 to stick to them. So that gives us that 5 minutes, because if not, the meeting starts at 10 and the next meeting, they have to start at 11 because there's not enough time, right? So that allows us to push more meetings. Agenda and what we've learned from EO is not just the agenda, but a clear amount of time of who needs to talk about what, sending it to the Zoom, and also, and again, it's an EO thing, sending it as at the start of a conversation on the Zoom. This is the agenda that was in the calendar invite. And also asking people to come prepared to the 3 or 4 minutes. And you and I know this, once a month through forum, for 3 minutes, we give a whole update about things that are the most important things that happen in our life. And usually it will be 6 or 7 things, right? Family positive, negative, our businesses and everything. So in 3 minutes, you can give so much value and so many different things. Why not do it in the meetings? So
I'm definitely going to take this idea here. Thank you. That's a great idea. I'm going to use that.
Great. So we took it from EO, so it's free.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. No, it's really cool.
And as someone who traveled quite extensively before you were a digital nomad concept, let's say,
sure.
What is a place you would love to go back if you could like sit there for a while? Not necessarily work, but a place you miss.
I think of Thailand a lot, like Chiang Mai, north of Thailand. It's like it's one of the biggest cities in Thailand, but still quite small. It's in the middle of the mountains. And I mean, for me, it's a period of my life, I was like 30, between those two companies, living on 600 euros a month, on a good life, doing Muay Thai like every day for 4 hours and living, living a simple life. Like I miss that. So
Yeah. A long time ago, I spent a few days on bridge over River Kwai in Thailand. And I think for 3 days, we just sat there, looked at the water, at the bridge, had beers, barely talking, just enjoying. So that is interesting. You said visioning 1 year that client and decide you're not going to take it. If you and I meet next year, what do you vision for yourself, for your company?
So right now we have 20 clients, like 20 clients, and we want to get to 50 by end of this year. And so I'm looking at my vision board and I see 150 clients by the end of next year. So I'm going 10x. Like I'm trying to really like I see an opportunity and I'm trying to grab it. So that's what I want to do. And then where do I want to live? I want to live by the ocean. I don't know where. Could be California. I put California recently. I want to live in California and live by the ocean in California.
Let me know. I'm in. We'll share a nice house on the beach, go surfing, but we need like rooms for my YouTube channel and for your business. So we need a big house, and I have EO guests coming over and everything. You meet on the street, you meet a 20-year-old guy or girl in Paris, and they say, "Oh, you have a business, amazing. I want to start a business as well." What tip or 2 tips you would give them?
Oh, good question. Okay, it's hard. What would I give them?
Take something you failed with and you know now.
Okay. It's gonna take a lot of time. Like you need to
be patient.
You need to be okay. Yeah, be patient. Like whatever you think is going to take, double it, triple it. Like know that it's gonna take longer.
I was asked this last week. That's why I'm asking. And I said,
what did you say?
And I said, overcharge.
Charge more, like be more expensive.
Yeah. And she called me and she said, amazing. They said yes. And she asked double the price she was planning on asking.
Nice. Yes, true. We undervalue ourselves so much. It's crazy.
And I think I was like that for years when I started doing content and then marketing and then consulting and then my speaking gigs. And it's about, so that is it, the way I look at it, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, yeah.
Sorry. If I would give a second one, is enjoy the hardship. Just enjoy it, because there's something fun about starting a business. It's hard, but it's something very fun about those hardships. And you can find the journey is the reward. Like it's just enjoying that process.
You know, before we finish, I'm not remembering, you owe me a story.
Yes.
In 2018, I came to your chapter to give a story workshop. There were 20 people in the room. It was an amazing day. We went for dinner later, and you promised me you will give me a good story. So as we finish this episode, I'm going to ask that you help us in your chapter in Paris and write to us a nice story about why you brought back EO, or what do you find within EO, whatever, and we will publish it on the EO Euro website. Okay, and I would love to have a few words from the president from Paris, and that's my only ask.
Yeah, sure.
And it's on video. You have to.
Yeah, I do. And we did. I mean, I love that exercise you made us do in that session in Paris, like writing that story. I remember it. It was powerful.
Anytime your chapter invites, I will be there, my friend. Anytime.
You come back.
Max, I have to tell you, I'm so happy we managed to do this quickly, and we like booked on
Yeah.
Monday. This is Friday, and thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really fun. I was a bit not worried, but I was just like, what are we going to talk about? Like so. Yeah, it was great.
We always find something to talk about.
Yes, yes.
So anyone watching, if you're interested, you're more than welcome to check out the eonetwork.org. That's the website where everything happens for EO. If you're interested in joining in one of the 23 chapters in Europe, feel free, reach out to me or someone on the website. Would be happy to talk and help. If you're a young entrepreneur, be patient. Good luck. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.